This is going to be a quick video on how to run networking gear for some hurricane affected areas from Hurricane Maria, and it's an area that is not allowed to ship batteries to. So I can't just ship them some AGM gel cells and some inverters and stuff like that, and they can't get gas. And of course the power's been out for a week, and it's going to be out for many months after that. So this was kind of a fun project to see if we could get them some network equipment running. And they do have a surplus of laptop batteries, and I'll explain that part maybe later. But this is going to be in my circuits shorts. Play on words. To demonstrate this, we're going to try with a small Cisco router, an EA2700, and we have a few things involved with it. A little piece of wire, some connectors, crimper, dikes, meter. I'm not going to meter this one because I already know what it is, but you definitely want to test everything before you put it all together. A very small inverter and an HP laptop battery, which again we have a surplus of those on the island, and that's about it for power. The inverter, you might wonder why it's such a small one. It's because the efficiency factor of the inverter, most of the, especially the cheap ones, even the more expensive ones, are 80 to 88% efficient. So you want to actually size it for about the load that you're looking for. Even this is overkill, but I thought it was fun to give it a try and see what we could make work with this. As with most things, you're going to want to start off with some math on the project. For this case, we have a battery that's 11.4 volts, 50 watt hours. The router is 12 volts, 1 amp, and it says nominal on the router for that. I find it hard to believe it's going to pull a whole amp, but we'll run with that. We're going to assume the inverter is 80% efficient, which gives us about 40 watt hours at 80%, which means we have about 3.3 hour runtime. We put a safety factor on for the lithium batteries, 30%. So first run's probably going to be 3.3 or 2.3 hours, and then cut it off just to make sure we're not going to damage the lithium cells. It'll probably run a lot longer, but you got to proceed with caution. We're not going to measure the actual draw, things like that, which would help you get the math a lot more accurate. And the end of the story is you'd be a lot better off plugging the router directly into the laptop battery. It would run about 4 hours, but since I don't actually know what gear is being used, it might not be 12 volt compatible, so we're going to still run this out as an exercise. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some old lamp cord, just simple 2 conductor, but enough to kind of feel safe about the draw here. Split it. And strip it. Stuff's been sitting out in the heat for decades as part of my lights, so it's getting pretty nasty. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on some blade ends for this. So we're going to trim it up a little bit to the shadows, make it a little bit easier to fit in these connectors. Take some of the mass, the strands out. Both of these. Very scientific approach. Next, grab your handy dandy box of assorted terminal connectors, and we're going to pick, just because I never use these, I picked the red smaller blades, F1. Yeah, 24 gauge, whatever they are, F1 connectors. Give it a little twist. Spin the connector on. Make sure you can see copper or whatever you're working with. Get your handy dandy crimpers using the right color for the right crimp. The same thing for the other one. Make sure it goes all the way through. Ooh. Crimped on tight. You take the other end. I think I'm going to shorten this up a little bit. Low voltage distance matters. Same thing. Split the strands. This one we're going to get a little more wire out of. And you'll see why in a second. GC section of stranded. Spin it up to be neat. On this side we're going to take a little less. Still take more than ½ an inch. That's about right. This one's spin it up neat. Stripper works better for this, but I'm just too lazy. Okay. Now, very important with inverters to have the polarity correct. So we are going to take and mark the long side as negative, the black Sharpie, so we don't reverse the polarity on the inverter, which all of them will blow up. They don't have, it's too much current to have reasonably sized and cost-wise diode protection. So the long side is going to be negative. I'll put a little band around that too, just as a reminder. And double check it. And I'm not going to cut the end of this off because this is just for fun. Let's see if it'll work. A car adapter, cigarette lighter. Pointy end's positive, band's negative. So we're going to feed this guy through and wrap it around so we can twist him to make a good mechanical connection. Then this one, we're just going to unscrew this. Make the positive side, and this is fused, so hopefully we don't get into too much trouble. You wrap the wire around so the threads work with your wire, not against it. You tighten it. And Again, this is Hurricane Tech stuff, so I'm trying to do it with as little resources as possible to kind of mimic my coworkers that have no power. You can substitute if you don't have parts and you need power badly. Alright, that's it. Make sure nothing's touching there. Now, the HP battery, as much as I dislike HP, has a nice feature. It shows you plus sign and a minus sign for the polarity. And that's how we're going to hook it up. Try to do this all in one shot. Alright, next we're going to very carefully put the blades into the positive and negative top grooves. I'm going to get rid of my wire shavings because that would really suck to have some extra wires laying around. As you can hear, the inverter is fired right up, just like he's happy. I'm going to put a little bit of a load on here by plugging in the router. And you can see by the green light in the inverter, he's still very happy. And you can see the router is in boot up mode. So I've disabled the lights on the router just because they used to drive me crazy when I had in a small apartment working remotely, and you'd see the lights blinking at night. So those are normally on, but I've disabled them through the software, so all you'll see is the main system light. But as you can see, it's fired up now. It seems to run fine. Like I said, you get 2-3 hours of router time with this. And obviously this voids your warranty, so on just about everything we're doing here. So only do this if you're in an emergency and if you're available to smell smoke if you screw something up.